Welcome back to a new post today. And just yesterday, it was the committee which was constituted for One Nation, One Poll submitted its recommendations to the President Draupadi Murmu. And it was a huge report consisting of almost 18,000 pages and 11 chapters. So it made recommendations for the manner of simultaneous polls to be conducted, not only to Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies, but also the local bodies, that's the municipalities and the panchayat. Now, this committee was constituted last year in September 2023, and it went on to include our very own Union Home Minister Amit Shah, the former leader of the opposition in the Rajya Sabha, Ghulam Nabi Azad, then the chairman of the 15th Finance Commission, N.K. Singh, the Lok Sabha General Secretary, C. Kashyap, and Senior Advocate Arish Salve, Central Vigilance Commission, Sanjay Kothari, showing the diversity in the committee and from various backgrounds so that they can make the recommendations, keeping into mind the technicalities that will be involved. There was one exception where the leader of the Congress, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, declined to be a part of the panel, calling the exercise a total eyewash since the panel was in favor of recommending simultaneous polls even before it started its consultation process and was actually constituted into a committee. The panel unanimously recommended simultaneous elections for the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies as a first step, followed by synchronized local body polls within 100 days, highlighting that such a mechanism will augment development and social cohesion and deepen the foundations of the democratic rubric. The 22nd Law Commission, headed by Rituraj Awasthi, also is likely to back the simultaneous poll suggestion and suggests tentative timelines from 2014 to 2024 election cycle, and this law commission has to submit its final report. So what exactly do you understand by simultaneous polls? As I told you, it's simultaneous polls to Lok Sabha, the state legislative assemblies across the states, and also the local bodies, that's the municipalities and the panchayat. All these bodies have a term of 5 years. Now, these are local representative bodies, that is the lower bodies, and they have a term of 5 years. So, did we have simultaneous polls in the beginning? Yes. Starting from the first Lok Sabha in 1952, we went on to have simultaneous polls in 57, 62 and 67 when the first disruption happened because there was President's rule in Kerala government, and subsequently the simultaneous polls because of defections and counter defections within the political parties led to different kinds of elections for the Lok Sabha and the various state legislative assemblies. Now, there are only 4 states that hold simultaneous polls with the Lok Sabha. That's the Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, which will be going to polls along with the Lok Sabha for the 18th Lok Sabha that is to be constituted in June 2024. Now, the proponents of this recommendation argue that simultaneous polls is needed because they want to reduce the expenditure that is associated with holding of elections, because in 2014 the general elections went on to cost the public exchequer an estimated 3,870 crore. Now, it has been pointed out that even because of elections, something called as the Model Code of Conduct comes into being, and this disrupts the governance which is carried on during this time when the Model Code of Conduct is into force in whichever state the election is going to happen, and when it's the Lok Sabha election, it is in force throughout the country. Now, however, the opponents contend that this is likely to favor the large political parties with a national presence. For now, it is BJP, with disproportionately affecting the smaller regional parties. In a 2015 study by a think tank institute revealed that in 1999-2014, there was a 77% of chance of winning of the political party or the alliance, which was at the Lok Sabha, both at the Lok Sabha and the assembly elections in the state when they are held simultaneously, and this figure drops to 61% if the elections are held after a gap of 6 months. Meaning that the political party at the center will definitely likely to have an influence on the mindset of the voters. So what's the need now for the simultaneous elections apart from reducing the expenditure on the public exchequer? Now, emphasis is there. The panel pointed out that conducting of elections every year casts a huge burden not only on the public exchequer but also on the government, businesses, workers, courts, political parties, candidates contesting the elections, the heads of the political parties, I mean to say the leader of the political parties, party star campaigners, civil society at large. And accordingly, it said that the government must develop a legally tenable mechanism to ensure that the elections to the Lok Sabha, the State Legislative Assembly and the local bodies are held simultaneously in 2029. That's when we constitute the 19th Lok Sabha. It also maintained that simultaneous polls do not infringe on the fundamental rights of the citizen or the basic structure of constitution. Now, synchronization. So what exactly are the recommendations of the Ramnath Kovind committee, which is for simultaneous polls? So the committee suggested a two-step mechanism for simultaneous polls in reality. Firstly, it recommended holding simultaneous polls for the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies. Secondly, it proposed synchronizing the elections for the municipalities and the panchayat with general Lok Sabha and Assembly elections in a manner that it ensures that the former is conducted within 100 days of the latter. So there is a 100-day gap between the elections of the Lok Sabha and the State Legislative Assembly and the municipalities to be conducted. That means the municipalities and the panchayats will go to elections within about a 3-month time after the constitution of the Lok Sabha and the State Legislative Assembly. Now thereafter, the President will have to issue a notification for this on the same date as the date of the first sitting of the Lok Sabha, designating it as an appointed date for synchronization of elections. That is, after the sitting of the first sitting of the constituted Lok Sabha, within 100 days, the elections to the municipalities and the panchayats will be need to conducted. Now, once such date is fixed, the terms of all the state assemblies constituted after it will end with the expiry of the Lok Sabha's terms. This will result in most of the state governments being unable to complete their tenable or the stipulated 5-year term even though they enjoy a majority. Now, the new government elected after 2024 Lok Sabha accepts these recommendations and immediately initiates the process. The first simultaneous polls will be conducted as early as 2029. During this transition period, all the states with elections due in June 2024 and May 2029 would see the terms expire along with the 18th Lok Sabha. Consequently, some state assemblies will have terms less than 5 years as one-time measure to facilitate this synchronization up to 2029, and thereafter their terms will synchronize with the term of the Lok Sabha. To sync the Assembly and the Lok Sabha polls, the panel has recommended introduction of Article 82A in the Constitution. That is, the Constitution will have to be amended for this. Accordingly, certain articles will have to be amended and articles will have to be added as well. According to the committee report, on the date of the first sitting of the House of the People after the general election, the President will issue a notification bringing this provision into effect. Further, Article 82A Clause 2 will state that all the legislative assemblies constituted in any general election held after the appointed date shall come to an end with the expiry of the full term of the House of People. This is the way in which they are going to synchronize the term of the state legislative assemblies with the Lok Sabha. Now, the Election Commission of India will be required under Article 82A Clause 3 to hold elections to the legislative assemblies together along with the Lok Sabha. If the ECI is unable to hold simultaneous polls, Article 82A Clause 4 authorizes it to make recommendation to the President to declare by order that the election to the legislative assembly may be conducted at a later date. However, even in cases where the state election is deferred, a full term of the Legislative Assembly shall end on the same date as the end of the full term of the House of People constituted in a general election year. So even if the State Legislative Assembly is constituted on a later date, anyhow its further term will end at the end of the term of the existing Lok Sabha election. But what if there is a fall of the government in the center at the Lok Sabha? Now that needs to be considered. So introduction, there is also another recommendation for introduction of Article 324A. Now inclusion of Article 324A in the Constitution has also been recommended. This new provision will empower the Parliament to make laws to ensure municipality and panchayat elections are held simultaneously along with the general elections of the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies. Amendments to the term of the Lok Sabha and the state assemblies. Amendments to Article 3083 which deals with the duration of the Lok Sabha and Article 172 which deals with the duration of the state assembly have also been suggested. Both the Lok Sabha as well as the state assemblies are constituted for the 5 years after each election. According to this panel, the 5-year term shall be referred to as a full term by amending Article 83 Clause 2 and Article 172 which deals with the terms of the Lok Sabha. and the State Legislative Assembly. Now, if the Lok Sabha, the State Legislative Assembly, is dissolved prematurely, then the remaining period will be referred to as the unexpired term. Amendments also are recommended to the existing statutes like the National Capital Territory of Delhi Act 1991, the Government of Union Territories Act 1963, the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act of 2013. These amendments will ensure that the assembly elections of the Union Territory will take part simultaneously along with the Lok Sabha and the State Legislative Assembly. Also, it has recommended a single electoral roll and an election ID. Now, the committee has recommended that under Article 325 be amended to ensure a preparation of a single electoral roll and a single voter election identity card by the ECI in consultation with the State Election Commission. If this recommendation is accepted, the process of creating of the electoral rolls will be taken over by the ECI, and the State Election Commissions will be purely having a consultative role. Now, the new Article 325 Clause 2 proposed by the committee will create a single electoral roll for every territorial constituency for the election to the House of People and the state legislature, or for a municipality and a panchayat, and will substitute any other electoral roll that has been created earlier by the Election Commission under Article 325 or the State Election Commission under Article 243K or Article 243ZA that constitutes State Election Commission for the elections to the panchayat and the municipalities. And finally, it also speaks about the ratification of the states, because this affects the legislative assembly or the representative bodies under which we have the amendment powers given to the parliament, but certain provisions can be amended only by ratification of at least half of the states. This is the third category, and the commission, the amendment would require the amendment to these would affect the federal structure of the constitution, since they govern the powers of the state assembly. Article 368 Clause 2D specifically includes representation of the states in the parliament as one of the issues that would require such a ratification, and therefore the commission has recommended that they have to do away with this ratification of the states for the one simultaneous elections to come into force. And finally, to meet the logistic requirements, it says that logistic demands of conducting the simultaneous polls, the panel suggested that the ECI, in consultation with the SCC, shall plan in advance and take steps for deployment of manpower, polling personnel, security forces, EVMs, VVPATs and other measures as well. So apart from the model code of conduct, I really don't think that there will be a reduction in the expenditure of the elections or with regard to the manpower that is needed. The only thing where I think that the one nation, one poll will be really advantageous is for the political party which is at the center, and apart from that, the model code of conduct which they speak of, and frequent electioneering for these people. But apart from that, I really do not see any reduction in the expenditure that will be caused to the simultaneous elections of the Lok Sabha or the State Legislative Assembly and the municipalities and the panchayat, because it's the same amount of money that will have to be used, but maybe not frequently in case if the government of the day falls. But I don't see frequent elections happening even if the state government falls, because immediately there is a party taking over and they complete the term for the rest of the term to the state legislative assemblies. So definitely it is going to only be an advantage to the political party at the center, and also with regard to the model code of conduct. So this is what I analyze it to be as. And if you really did like these points with regard to one nation, one elections or simultaneous polls, please do like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to comment at the end of the video, and I shall see you in my next post. Until then, it's very happy learning.